and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the manga, and at the very end I'll do books that I read in the month of January 2024. Now, I've talked about this on my Instagram, but I have had a phenomenal reading month. Everything that I've read I really was enjoying, even if I didn't give it like 5 stars or anything. So let's just get into everything that I read, and I hope that you will enjoy the video. First thing I have is volume 7 of the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You. This series is the story is by Rikito Nakamura and the art is by Yukiko Nozawa. This is a ghost ship title, so that gives you the idea that this is a little bit more risque than the normal 7 Seas, but it's not quite to the level of steamship. So this series, it's bad. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys to go pick it up, read it now. I'm enjoying it, but I do see all of the problematic issues within it, but I can't help but continue reading it. Like, it would have to be pretty dang bad for me to not read it. And I think that's because I see this as a parody of the harem genre. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the anime. You can judge me. I don't really care because it's just fun. This was probably the worst girlfriend in this one. Don't really want to go into it, but it's a trope in manga that we're all familiar with. The next thing I read is volume 5 of A Condition Called Love. This is by Megumi Morino, and we're continuing just this sweet high school romance between these two characters. I love the very ending of this one where we got like a sweet tender moment between the two of them in a classroom, and it was just sweet. Like, I always end up smiling while I'm reading this one. It's not like groundbreaking in the plot, but it does have a little bit darker tones to like trauma from both of the characters. Maybe they dealt with bullying or harassment or just really bad luck in life. So I do recommend this if you like shoujo romance with a little bit of a darkness to them that discuss difficult topics. The next thing I read is In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, volume 6 by Mika Yamamori, a Kodansha title. This is a really pretty green color. I really love it. This story is about this girl who looks very masculine, very androgynous, and a lot of people treat her like a guy, and she's not mad at that, but she kind of does want to be looked at as more feminine and like a girl. And so there's this guy here, you can see part of his face, who he's also popular because he's hot or whatever, and he's kind of weird and not punky, but punk-ish, if that makes any sense. He falls in love with her, so it's their relationship and the tension between the two of them and her personality of wanting things done a certain way, kind of like a type A person. And it's just really fun and quirky to see the two of them navigate a relationship where he has more experience, but she's fairly new to it all. So it's fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think that it's gonna have to do something interesting very soon with how far into it we are. This is volume 6. If they don't either spice things up or move it along faster or end the series quickly, because I feel like it's not really going much anywhere, but I'm not gonna stop reading it. I do like it still. The next volume I have here is volume 2 of The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl. This is by Miyuki Tonogaya. I love this series so far. I've obviously read the first 2 that have come out. I have the 3rd one in my cart ready to go once it releases. I don't really feel like pre-ordering it yet. But this one we kind of go into a different couple. I mean, they're obviously in it, especially at the very end. But at the beginning, we're following this fox girl right here. She's super cute. I really like her and her personality, and then the guy that she likes. It's cute. I do see a little bit more of I am a wolf but my boss is a sheep within that part of the story, because she actually has ears and a tail and all that. It's kind of similar within that idea of office workers who are spirits of something or descendants of some kind of animal. So if you like that manga, you might like this one. I don't know if it's going to be going between the two couples or if we're going to keep getting more characters throughout it. I have no idea. I haven't read beyond this point, and I haven't watched the anime. So if the anime is really good, please let me know. I think I might try it out. It's such a sweet story, and the art's beautiful, and these covers are phenomenal. I don't like the price that Square Enix charges for their manga, but I do want to keep up with this one, so I'm going to continue collecting it regardless. The next thing I read is volume 1 of Orange in the singles that came in the box set. I don't like that there is nothing on the back of these. I do think that's kind of weird, because like if I lost the box set and I just had these on my shelf, if you picked it up you wouldn't know what it's about. You would just kind of have to dive into it and hope that you liked it. You know, I'll just try to keep up with my box set there. But it's a good series. I have not finished reading it. I think I just picked up volume 2. Hopefully I'll have that read this month unless I get distracted by something else. This is a series about a girl who gets a letter from herself, I forget how many years in the future, and it's telling her that some really bad things happened later in her life and that she needs to change them, and these are the ways that she can change them. So she's like haphazardly following the instructions and then breaking some of the instructions, so it's kind of just going back to the same way it was, and then she is changing some of them. So obviously the past will indicate changes to the future in some way, but she's not quite sure what's going to happen. It's kind of scary and sci-fi-ish, and I'm pretty sure it's going to turn into a romance between her and the main guy. In the anime, I remember this being very like emotional and dramatic. Like I cried a lot. Can't remember everything that happens, but I do know like the major plot points of it. So I am ready to actually go through the original storyline. I did not like Dream and Sun by Ichigo Takano. I think I'm gonna like this one just because I think it's better written. The next thing I read is volume 10 of Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible. This is by Nene Yukimura. This is by Nene Yukimori, and I don't know how much longer this is gonna be. Like, what are we leading to something? I want something to happen. I think this is ending very soon. Let me know if you know in the comments, because I want this to have a good ending, but I also don't know how much more is gonna happen. It's kind of dragging just a little bit, but I do love it. I think it's a cute story and I'm not gonna stop. It's definitely turning into more of a friendship story than a romance, and I kind of miss the romance that we were having. We'll see where it goes from here, but yeah, I read volume 10. Next I have 2 volumes of My Hero Vigilantes, volumes 14 and 15. I read these and this is the last volume. So sad that it's over, but I am very glad to have finished another series. Me and my husband were reading this together, so we've enjoyed the ride. I have had people ask, or I've had someone ask if we could make a video when I mentioned it in my last haul, if we could make a video talking about it. So I'm gonna ask him if he wants to do that, and then if he says yes, we'll sit down, come up with some notes, and then we'll talk about it with y'all. I've had a lot of people say they did not know this was a series. Many people on my Instagram or my YouTube comments have told me I did not have a clue what this was until I heard you talk about it. So I think more people need to know about it. And I meet people in real life who like My Hero, but they did not know this is a thing. And their favorite characters are either they have more lore in here or they're featured in this series. And I think it's sad that they don't know about it, and it needs more attention. I wish this would get animated so it would get more attention. I'm really hoping and praying also that we get cameos from this series in the original like main series coming up soon. I think it comes out in April or something. I really liked it. It was really good. I did have a few issues with the very ending, but nothing major. Just kind of like, it just kind of ended in my opinion. I have some horchata. I'd never had it before and I wanted some and I got it today. It's so good. I have a really good Mexican food truck in the area. I recommend if you've never tried horchata before. Next thing I read is volume 7 of A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita. Continues to be fantastic. I absolutely love the character designs within this series. Very good looking male characters in this series and sweet friendships. This is slightly turning into a love triangle, but I don't think it's going to be reciprocated on her end. But I do like that it's a thing. I like that we've got that dynamic in here. I just wonder how it's going to resolve itself, because I love all of these characters, even the bad ones. I love all of them. I'm excited to continue it soon. And the anime is really, really cute so far. I've been enjoying it. The next thing I read is volume 7 of Emcoy. This is by Ayuko Hata, and I want to continue this one ASAP. I've been really enjoying it. It's cute. I like these 2 new characters. They're really fun, and I am glad that we've switched over to them instead of just continuing to go with the original 2. I think that was a good choice, and the art's beautiful. I think this is a very fun series, and you've got all these different personalities of characters who are falling in love. I like the guy. I think the girl's cute. It's fun, so I'm happy to have this series in my collection and to continue that one soon. Next, I have another book by Ayuko Hata. This is volume 1 of Wolf Girl and Black Prince. This is a very toxic shoujo romance, and I really like it so far. I think this volume was really fun. I'm going to pick up as many volumes as I can when I see them next time, probably in person. I think I want to go book shopping fairly soon, but I am also trying to save up for a trip that we might be taking in March, so we'll see. Either way, I am happy that this is getting published because I've heard good things. I enjoyed this one a lot. I like a good toxic shoujo when it's fun. Next up, I have volume 2 of Shinobi Life. This is by Shoko Konami. This is a series about a ninja who falls through a time loop out of a lake, and he goes into the future where this girl looks like his previous, like, the lady he protects. Like he is to live and die protecting this woman, and she looks like her and she has the same name kind of, so he thinks that it's her, but they've just fallen into this weird like something. I don't know what it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's fun. I like time travel-y stories sometimes. I love a good ninja story. I like a romance. It's gonna have some like darker tones to it, obviously. We've got a character who's trying to kill our main character, Kagetora. I'm just having a good time. It's just a fun one. Next, I have volume 7 of Record of Ragnarok. This is art is by Azichika, stories by Shinya Umemura, script is by Takumi Fukui. I hate that the fight ended the way that it did, between Jack the Ripper and Heracles, I think's his name. Yeah, Heracles. But it was a great fight. I think it was the best one I've seen so far in this series. If you're not familiar, this is just a series between gods and humans, and they can pull from any part of gods and human history to have them fight, because Ragnarok, they're gonna kill all the humans and start over. So it's like humanity's last chance to live, I guess. But it's good. It's just not very deep. So if you're looking for like a deep, interesting storyline, you're probably not gonna get that, but it is a fun brawl. The next volume I read, or the last volume of manga that I read, is volume 4 of Kaiju No. 8. This is by Naoya Matsumoto. Still really enjoying this series. I can't wait for the anime to come out. I think it comes out in the summer, maybe? I know it comes out this year, and my husband and I are excited to watch it. He has not started reading yet. He is about to read volume 1, but I think he's gonna like it when he does. It's fun, it's simple. Guy turns into a kaiju and fights other kaiju. Just fun. Okay, so if you were only here for the manga, I do appreciate you watching this video, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. If you would like to watch me talk about the books that I read this month, I do have a little stack over here that I'm going to talk about, so I hope you'll continue watching. The first thing I read was Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This has been on my TBR for over a year or two now. I got this used and good deal, and I heard really good things when it originally came out. And it's a horror novel about this girl who is very young. You're not really given her age at the beginning, and she lives with this man who is very abusive. He's much older than her, so it's already kind of suspicious. He beats her, he mentally and physically abuses her beyond any reasonable amount, which none of it's reasonable, but you know what I'm saying. And she's like trapped there with him because she's only known him and she has nowhere to go. They're in the middle of the ice, like in this situation, like ice and snowy mountains, and there's no other homes or people around, so she just kind of has to live that way because that's what is safe and keeps her alive. And so it's kind of like Pilgrim Times or something. Like she's like cooking over a stone whatever, and she's ironing all the clothes old-fashioned way, and she has to go get the food out of the cellar, and you know, like it's very odd the way that they're living because it doesn't seem like they're in old times. And then these rando people show up and she's like, you need to leave because he's gonna get mad. And so a bunch of bad stuff happens. There are monsters in this. This is a monster story. I didn't really love that part of it. I think that it kind of drug on towards the later half of the story when it came to running from the monster. But I think overall, I really liked this. I think it was a 4-star for me. It was a really fun time, and I do recommend it if you're into horror that has to do with psychological trauma, I guess. And I think it's a good metaphor with the monsters coming through. I think that was like probably the point of that. It was fun. I really enjoyed this one. And then I got into a Japanese literature kick. I read Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This has been on my shelf for a long time as well. I bought it from our local bookstore, and had heard really good things a long time ago from someone on YouTube. I can't remember who it was, but it's a story about this woman. She's in her late 30s, I think, mid to late 30s. And she works at a convenience store, and she always has. And she's very happy working in that convenience store. She feels fulfilled and like she's got structure to her life, and everyone around her, her family, her friends, her coworkers all think it's weird that she works there and hasn't tried to like go up in society or gotten married or had kids. Like, it's very much a societal pressure story, and she doesn't understand why people want her to conform so badly. And she might have autism. She might be a victim of some type of trauma. I'm not quite sure where she is mentally. It's definitely not a neurotypical person, whether that be a type of psychopathy or a mental illness or just the way that she was born. I don't know, but it's not how most people think. She talks about a situation she was in as a kid where these two boys were fighting and someone said stop them, and so she hits one of them over the head with a shovel and doesn't understand why everyone got mad at her. So that kind of mentality, like, she's different, and I really loved reading from her perspective, and I just really enjoyed her mindset and how she thought about things. It's just a really enthralling story to me. I know probably not everyone will love this, but I think that if you do, you will love it. Like, it will be your thing, because this was my thing, and it got me into a Sayaka Murata fan base. Like, I am really interested in anything that she writes now, so I recommend it. It's a very short book, only 172 pages. I read through this very quickly and I loved it. I absolutely recommend it if you're curious, or if you like kind of slice of life but also a deep psychological dive into how this woman thinks, because you're always in her mind, and I absolutely loved it. And since I wanted to read another Sayaka Murata, I picked up Earthlings by the same author. This cover's really cute. It's got like the little hedgehog on it, but this is not what I expected. I picked it up because same author, and I didn't really look into what it's about. I knew it was something about aliens, but that was it. And when I bought it from the bookstore here in town, they had all of her books. She only has 3 out, I think, in English. The bookseller lady who owns the bookstore was like, this is very triggering, and she kind of like told me some of the triggers in it, because I think most people probably don't know that. And so I was like, what? She didn't spoil anything, but she did warn me, and I did appreciate that, because, you know, there could be things in here that are very dark and triggering for a lot of people. There's SA in this. There is cannibalism. There's abuse, mental and physical. Like, there are so many things in this that could be bothersome to a huge amount of people, and have never loved a book so much that had all of those things. And I don't mean that because of those things, but once again, it was a weird study about the way that this little girl thinks and acts and behaves and rationalizes in her little brain, because you're following the perspective of this little girl. I forget how old she is. She goes through so much trauma. It's so sad to watch, but it's also fascinating how she copes with it. She convinces herself that she is not from Earth, and that she is speaking to an alien through this little hedgehog plushie that she gets when she's a kid. And her cousin also is convinced that he's an alien, and then there's this other man that comes into it, and it turns into like a weird culty feeling weird thing, and the ending is just gory and bloody and brutal, and I loved it. It was such a fun ride for how awful it was, if that makes sense, but I loved reading it. It was the most interesting story I've read in a long time, and I feel like this could be a really good movie. Don't ask me why, but I do like it, and I do recommend it if you can handle all of those triggers, because it is very good. And the next thing I read was The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada, author of The Factory. I haven't read The Factory yet, but it's also a very thin book. This is a little novella. It's only 92 pages. A big metaphor, I'm pretty sure, is what the whole story is. We're following this woman who, her husband gets a new job closer to where his parents live, so his parents are like, hey, if you want to move here, we have this extra home next door that we used to rent out, but the people have moved out, so you can have it for free. You don't have to pay us or anything. Just, you know, keep it up, whatever. You can live there for free as long as you want to live here. And they're like, okay, we have a good relationship with our in-laws, so let's go do that. So they moved back to where he lived. She didn't really like her job that much, so it's not a big deal. She's also in her 30s and not having kids. Feels some pressure from the people that she works with, but she's also kind of laissez-faire about life. And without spoiling too much for you about this, she moves to this new town and experiences a lot of very strange characters and strange phenomenon. There's like a creature that they don't really tell you what it is, but I think it's like a big metaphor for change in her life and how she's kind of just ghosting and coasting through her life and not really living. It was weird. It was very weird, and I kept thinking it was going to turn into a horror novel because it just felt very atmospheric. If you've ever played the game Gone Home, it kind of made me feel like that did. I kept thinking that game was going to turn into a horror, but it never did. It just had that ominous vibe to it, and that's very much what this was. It never turned into a horror, but it very easily could have turned into a horror novel. But I liked it. I think it was a very quick, simple read. I read this in an afternoon. If you're into something weird but not scary, I recommend this. The next thing I read is Beneath a Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire. This is the third book in the Wayward Children series. Very, very thin fantasy novels. If you don't know, it's very pretty. But this series is about these kids who they fall through like doorways, like Alice in Wonderland or Narnia. They go through doorways or they fall through something, portals into another world. And when they come back to Earth, or they get put back into Earth from their world, they don't know how to cope with it, or they want to go back. You know, we're following the school so far of kids who want to go back to their world. So they're sent to this home for wayward children, and their parents are told that we're going to help them rehabilitate from some trauma, because the parents think that they were like kidnapped or something. Like, they don't believe the kids when they say they went to this fantasy world made of sugar and cupcakes, but in reality they did. And so now we're going, in this book, we're following a character who died in the first book, and they're trying to bring her back to life. So it's very interesting. This one is very much a sweet tooth person's book. I felt like I was going to get diabetes reading this novel because it was a sugar land and cupcakes and soda, swimming in soda, oceans and stuff. Very interesting though, and I really liked it. I think that this series is very fun and very quick to get through. I think they're all less than 200 pages. Yeah, 159-ish. It's a good one. Make sure you start from the beginning. I think that really does matter, but I can't wait to get the next one soon. And the last thing that I read this month is Sundal by Katrina Ward. It is, I think, a horror novel. I don't think it might be a thriller. It's hard to tell. I got this ages ago and it just sat on my TBR shelf, and then I lost it, and then it sat on my TBR shelf again. It's something I did not read the description. I just saw the cover and I said, that looks bisexual and cute, so I'm gonna get it. I know that doesn't make sense, but like, look how pretty the insides. And then the cover is like this really pretty blue. Oh, it's so pretty. I cover bought this. This was 100% a cover buy for me because I couldn't turn that away after looking at how pretty this cover was. And it was in either thriller or horror, so I was like, I might like it. I'll try it. But it's a story about dogs. I didn't know that, but there's this mom who, she has 2 kids and a husband, and the husband's a piece of crap, and they pretty much, she's abused, and she kind of retaliates back, but I think that's in defense, but he is abusive, very much so. And she has 2 daughters. One daughter's a little older, probably a preteen if I had to guess, and she seems to be a psychopath, but she is displaying signs of abusing animals and killing them and mutilating them and making them suffer for pleasure. The other daughter is also being victimized by this sister, supposedly, but dealing with the mom who's trying to figure out, what do I do with my daughter to deal with this and also get away from my husband? So she goes back home to her old home, Sundal, and we learn about her past, where she used to live on a farm / scientific study area where they tested brain chips on dogs. So it's kind of animal cruelty in this, if that's something that you're not comfortable with. There's a lot of that in here, but it was for educational purposes, so it wasn't in just pure torture. They had actual universities like Harvard and stuff sending students to come study these dogs and the ways that their brains were reacting to the chips that they were putting on them. It was weird. It was a weird story, but it had a lot of dog murder. It had a lot of dog killing people. It had a lot of abuse towards spouses, and the very end had a big twist in it that I did not see coming. I did not expect that to be the whole point of this book, but I liked it. I think this was a good book overall. I think I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed the overall story. We've got someone who has a serious drug problem, mental issues. So it could be very triggering. So I recommend looking that up if you're in need of those kinds of things. So yeah, guys, that's everything that I read in the month of January. Tons and tons of manga and tons of books. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more content from me. I do mostly do manga, but I tend to talk about books at the end of my manga content. So if that's something you're interested in, you can just stick around at the end of my videos. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.